promoting the education to all to those young generation also in the poor area. It's really remarkable. So we'll let Richard introduce his work in the past 6 years. Yeah. Eightfold Lotus Foundation. Okay, Richard, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Richard Lin, and I believe most of you already know I'm the son of Molly. And of course, because of her, we're all here, and this is my honor to be here to introduce to you what we have been doing in Cambodia. Actually, we also had projects in Nepal and other places in the past 6 years. So 6 years. When I founded Eightfold Lotus Foundation, by the way, you can call it short for ELF. A lot of people ask me, why did you start a charity organization in your mid-20s? A lot of people ask me, aren't you supposed to focus on your career? Find a young, beautiful lady to settle down, or get another degree? And why do you want to set up your programs thousands of miles away from home? I ask myself that question too, every year, ever since I founded the projects overseas. Because I pretty much gave up my business here in the States. I left home and I traveled thousands of miles away to meet people and to help people where I don't even speak the language. So why did I do it? Years of thinking, I think it's because suffering. A lot of us have different types of suffering, and I was trying to find a way to end it. Because I remember when I was a kid, my father and my parents took my sisters and I, we would travel to Nepal and India every year to visit the monasteries, the temples, and schools that we helped. And I can't get out of the pictures of seeing kids around my age, and they were holding infants. They will come to us, they will ask money or food to get through the day. And sometimes I wondered if would they ever be able to get through the winter. So ever since, I was throughout the years, I also ask myself, and I also ask God, why do I have food? Why do I have clean water to drink? Why do I have access to books and medicine? Meanwhile, most of them don't. Because sometimes I wonder if it's karma or it is because that's simply unfortunate. So I came to think, for the natural disasters, there's nothing much I can do. But there's definitely something that we can stop or we can prevent that may cause unfortunes. So ever since high school, as most of you know, you probably have children or grandchildren. Like in high school, we need to go out to get our volunteer hours. So I would join several organizations to find out why is it that small group of people can make such difference in people's life. And of course, for myself, I learned meditation, and through meditation, I learned everything is created by a single thought. This thought can create something beautiful. It can be caring, it can be loving, it can be compassion, but it can also turn into something destructive like greed, hate, doubt, ignorant, and arrogant. And I didn't realize how powerful the thought can be until 2007, February the 5th, when I received a phone call that my best friend passed away. He committed suicide in the school dormitory. And he was a straight A student. He got scholarships, he was interning in a pharmaceutical company, he was ready to apply for MITs and Stanford, that kind of school. But he chose to end his life at age 21. So from him, I learned suffering is not out there, it's actually coming from our mind, our thought. It is from us. So what can we do? So I came to think if everything started with the thought, and the thought plus the intention, everything, intention will turn into our speech and our words. So what if we were able to cultivate ourselves, and of course we inspire others to think about how to think, how to be mindful, and how to think positively. Then of course we can change the way we speak, and we can change the things we do, and definitely we are able to influence others. So I came to think, what can we do through ELF? First of all, we can create a good environment, a safe environment for the students to study, and we can provide vocational training for the adults. And then we can provide jobs to the adults, meanwhile we take care of the families. And of course, at this moment, we're working with the elderly in the village to set up a daycare center so the children can learn from the elders about who they are, where they're from, and what kind of wisdoms they can pass down to their children. So this is why I chose the name for Eightfold Lotus Foundation. It's quite long. It's because Eightfold Lotus come from 2 different words. Eightfold is actually Eightfold Path. It's a type of philosophy of life, which is if we have the right view, then our intention will be right. And if we have the right intention, we can speak good words and do good deeds. And of course, we can choose the lifestyle that we wanted. And of course, the lotus is a symbol of purity. In Chinese, we have a saying that the lotus grows out of mud, and it blooms pure and untainted. So when I founded ELF, I was hoping that ELF can inspire and motivate people to do something good. Whether it's a donor, the volunteers, or the people we serve, it's important for one person to start to look into oneself and start to make the difference. Then we can influence the people around us, and the people around us can influence the community and all the way to the nation. Then I began, where should I go and what can I do? Cambodia. Actually, this is a place I never thought of going. I'm not too sure, to be honest, years ago, I never knew where's Cambodia. I heard about it, but I never knew until I checked the map. If you look at the map, it's a tiny little red area. It's next to Vietnam. It also has a border contact with Laos and Thailand. And if it doesn't ring a bell, I hope you've heard of Angkor Wat. That's now recently become one of the most popular tourist area, the Kingdom of Wonder. And years ago, in 2010, a couple of friends and I, we decided to make a visit to Cambodia. And I wasn't thinking much of it. I was just trying to be a tourist. I packed my stuff and I booked a flight and we left the States. So we visited ruins after ruins, and I was just like a normal, tourist. I was enjoying my time. And I believe most of you you travel before, and you've probably seen this situation before. There's always children come to you selling the stuff that you don't need. Shoes, bags, books. You probably, once you buy it, you probably will not ever touch it again. But why did we buy it? And I remember my answer was, I was hoping that my dollar can help them to buy a meal to get through the day. And if you look at this, the right girl, the girl on the right, we met her first. So we bought stuff from her and she was happy. But if you look at the other girl, she was pretty sad because, we bought all the stuff we need. But something isn't right. Because I was wondering, if these children are out here during the day to sell merchandise to the tourists, then do they ever have the time to study? If they don't study, then it's difficult for them to find a job in the future. Without a job, what kind of impact they will do to the society? Especially 10 or 20 years later. Then I asked our tour guide, what happened to the country? Why is it every country is developing, but why isn't here? And he told me it's because in the 70s there's a war going on, and I believe most of you probably have heard Khmer Rouge in the 70s. And the civil war, pretty much wiped out a third of the population, and many of them fled to other countries. And it was until the 90s when the government started to reform, and of course the economy, education was all collapsed. And of course the education didn't come back up again until 1996. And because there was no education for about 30 years. So there was so few of them were educated, and even fewer become teachers to educate the younger children. So I asked my tour guide, do you know where, if I want to help, where can I go? And he introduced me to an island called Gok Bang. Gok means island, Pan is the name of the island. And I told him, give me 1 month and I'll be back. So 1 month later, I packed my stuff. I went, just exactly 1 month, I went back. I brought 2 other friends. And we made a visit to the local monastery because in Cambodia is a Buddhist country. So they do respect the local monks. So we went to visit the village chief and the monks. And this is Venerable Tiprik. He was one of the few people who were educated after the war.